Oh, hello. Yeah, I was looking at the recent visit of President Zelensky to the front line, and I was essentially astonished by the vicinity, because some people identified roughly the location is, and looks like is less than a kilometer from the zero line, because his robot he was very close. Yeah, exactly. Was in some of these houses on the left, probably, and you can see that it's quite often there are FPV strikes also there. So hats off, because it's very dangerous area, that one. I mean, it's by any means safe. I mean, no civilian would be allowed there. So I think for his visit, I mean, his visit was very much appreciated by the soldiers who are serving in that area.
I mean, even the road is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you remember that road was very much contested for a while. I mean, especially from artillery, rockets, and FPVs. FPVs are still the biggest threat because they can arrive for a very long distance. So, of course, this was a very. I think if there was any EW when he arrived was more than active, but I mean still a very dangerous place to be, because we have seen many times uh, EW failing to preventing FPV for attacking. So these are
Okay, I feel
very
like we're
historical.
Danielle. I feel like we're burying the headline here. So we do have an update on your drone work, your fabulous drone work, which we've been
Oh,
sharing with the audience here. So I want to start with, like, maybe we should explain who Commission is. I think that's maybe important to this story. So, like, I don't know, Erland, do you want to maybe explain who Commission is to start with?
Well, Alexander Kamyshin was the head of the Ukrainian railroad company Ukrsalitnitsa for a long time, and then he was basically promoted to Minister of Strategic Industries, so very connected to the arms and defense industry. And yeah, he posted. Let's see here.
Well, I would say it's a very official introduction, but I would just add that this guy, I would consider him one of the geniuses on the Ukrainian side that's emerged out of the in full scale invasion. Like, he kept the railway running to an extent that was pretty mind boggling. Like, a lot of European colleagues I know were saying, like, Ukrainian railways runs more efficiently than ours, and they're getting bombed every day. I mean, he was working out how to run on, like, steam power if they had to, if Russia cut all the electricity, right? Like, he just was someone that had solutions to problems when a lot of managerial solutions that the Ukrainians were trying to deal with, like, weren't working. And so there was some issues in the Defense Department, right? Like that. Let's not beat around the bush. There were things weren't happening at a rate that were necessary, and so Commission was basically put in there to sort it out. He was moved from that position that he had, where I think he was widely regarded as a very successful, administrator of the railway system, and he was put into this defense procurement role in order to basically, I would say, to sort out the Ukrainian defense procurement sector. Would you say any of that's an exaggeration there, Ellen? I don't want to exaggerate.
No, that was a very good description. Very talented young leader, and yeah, he's been, uh, you know, it shows that he's been successful, because Ukrsalitnitsa is still going very well, and he kind of left that company in a very good state, and it seems like he's trying to fix up some of the issues in the weapons and defense procurement environment in Ukraine. That's so to say. And yeah, well, he posted basically this poster on his Twitter, which it's very nice that they sourced Tochnyi and Daniele's article. Um, yeah, Daniele, is there anything
Actually,
you want to say
yeah,
about that?
yeah, that was a surprise to me, because I have to say that I don't remember if it was you telling me about these or like was like a coincidence that you some probably about that. At the same point, I start to see people who follow me tagging me in that thread, and then I went there and honestly, at the very beginning, I was thinking, okay, this is maybe a troll, but then so I was like not taking that very seriously. But then when I realized that was the actual minister, then I said, okay, cool. And I just replied to him like, dear minister, I'm going to send you by DM. I don't remember exactly the exact word. Oh, is there? And the post is there. And then I just redirected him to the article on the website. And after a while, he sent me this reply that he was going to read it, and he did. So was very nice, a very nice interaction, and I never expected this to happen. And I think is one of the nice things of doing this type of work, because people really look at what you post, especially if you put dedication and attention to the details. And also FPV drone, fortunately and unfortunately, is a very hot topic at the moment. So a lot of people are trying to scratch their heads to understand the level of threat, how to do better, how to prevent the enemy to overcome our movement. So it's quite a big topic now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do-
It's really better.
Do you want me to share some of the new stats?
Yeah, I mean, I think I sent you because to understand that the analysis on FPV usage based on Andrew Perpetua data, which comes out every day. And some days are very much disruptive because they may include hundreds and hundreds of strikes, and so your stats change immediately. So the stat that the article that the minister posted was old, and when the same day I gave him access to our, I mean, I gave him the address to our article, that evening that article was already partially old because this was coming out, but I waited to release this to have a wider picture. And this plot is very important because show us the total usage of FPV. Now, once again, these are the numbers that we see through analysis of video and other information that with Andrew is able with Geek to analyze, verify, and geolocate with pinnacle precision. I want to underline this because the map that you find on the website is old for a reason. You can see the actual location that both sides I mixed for a reason because I don't want to share too much information, but you can see the exact location of each strike. And if you look at this information of Andrew Perpetua, you will see that they match. You see what type of drone, where, and when. So this plot instead show us essentially the amount of drones, FPV drones used by both sides each month. Initially, this progression was pretty much linear, especially until December. December is a strange month for Ukraine. You can see that even in the linear fit, in this case is a quadratic function, but essentially you can see that December is a bit undertone, and we came to the conclusion that probably is just delivery, so that they haven't been delivered many of the drones, or they had problem on other side, for example, commissioning warheads, which can be a problem. But then after it didn't it completely start to fly, because you can see that we have not doubled, but we doubled the November data. We introduced a bit more respect to December, so the growth is nearly quadratic. So it's growing very much at very high rate, and the same is occurring to the Russian. The Russian have experiencing the same trend, but they start with a gap which still present, and they are not going. I mean, for now, it doesn't look like they are going to overcome the production and the usage from Ukraine, but we will have to see the next few months to really understand the potentiality of both sides, honestly. But for now, Ukraine is in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's positive that Ukraine is outproducing the Russians, or at least outperforming, it seems, on FPV drone usage. But the negative thing is that the Russians are also increasing their use a lot, and this weapon is very, very, very dangerous and destructive. So I would say that this is very concerning in general.
Especially if you look at the next plot, the one of infantry. If you can show that, would be nice. Just by one note, the data on the right, bottom right, is now. I mean, these data are from the 2nd of February, so I excluded those data from the feed. Otherwise, the feed would be completely meaningless. So we still need, this is the data from infantry, and this is updated on the top right. When you see this plot, you will see top right, you will see the latest update of the database on which they are based. On the bottom left, the accreditation for the data source, who did the analysis on the right. And then you have the total for Russian and Ukrainians. And you can see that Ukrainians are ahead in the use. And initially, there was like a kind of, can I share the data? I think is better.
Sure.
Because, I think these, you remember, I had a problem with the script, and there was, and I think these data were those with the wee bug. So I want to share this one if I can. Can you see the screen?
One second.
Yeah, essentially just for explain, you can see that nothing changed on that plot. Essentially, the growth is essentially that. But when you go for category, you will start to see, you had that big increase. In reality, they are nearly in parity, which for a user that didn't follow this story since last month could be okay, they are in parity, but look at where we were here. I remember we were discussing about this advantage from the Russian side. So this was quite concerning. But both sides increased largely the use. You can see 300 or more. And this is only what we see. So you can imagine how much more drones are used. And nearly a bit less than doubling for the Ukrainian, which, okay, I mean, they are in parity. And here, up to yesterday, because these are the data from yesterday, Ukrainian are ahead already. And another very important, and so this give you like a progression, how things are evolving. And this one is another data, which is very important, which is very blue, and tells us about the usage of FPV on. We have a question. No, sorry. I just conclude this one, and then if there is any question, Erland, you can give the way. So this plot essentially is about vehicles per month, and you can see Ukraine has been mostly outpacing Russia, and there was like a decrease in December. You can see that there is this decrease, but then instead going down, it went up very substantially. So this is a very important signal, because it tells us that there is no shortage used en masse to the target that they prefer. In particular, Ukraine hunts and try to destroy as much vehicle as possible, and the Russian, for many reasons, I don't want to say that they are capable, but they do mostly always the same error of advancing in lines with many tanks and armored vehicle, and they are easy prey of FPV Ukrainian FPV operator, as you can see. Instead, Ukraine has not less, but I come to the conclusion that they prefer to don't use vehicles unless it's very important, because as soon as they will use, they will end up doing the same end of the Russian being destroyed. Doesn't matter how good your vehicle it is. I don't know if there is any question, Erland, if you want to have a look.
Real quick, guys, before we go to questions, I just wanted to like cover a little bit about the reaction to this, because I think it's like maybe a little bit important, right? Like just so people understand, this is, as far as we know, like the first real, like, scientifically minded or like objectively minded study regarding this phenomenon. And we're like very glad to see the Ukrainian ministry looking into this. So it's really great to see their data. I just wanted to mention, we briefly mentioned there's some Ukrainian, people online on Telegram and stuff talking about this, but there's also been a pretty strong reaction from the Russians. So I think, Erlen, you noticed it the most. So if you could just comment on that just a little bit, and then we can go to the questions.
Yeah, so basically, Andrew just sent me a post from a Russian Telegram channel that had posted Daniele's research with some comments about, Ukraine being ahead with FPV usage. And yeah, well, there were some people were saying things like, yeah, I was at the front line recently, and it is all true that the Ukrainians have a lot of FPV drones. They're targeting everyone. They're even targeting individual persons, etc. And then, yeah, there was a lot of different comments, and eventually they were just really angry at each other for not either supporting the official line of the Kremlin, which is, saying that they have 100,000 FPV drones or something like this, and the Ukrainians have nowhere near the same. So yeah, there was a lot of insults, etc. And yeah, they were not happy about this guy posting this stuff and saying it was, some sort of research funded by the American government, etc., which is obviously not true.
Yeah, I think we've seen a marked increase in doom posting on the Russian side about drones lately. We can't attribute that directly to Daniela's work, but I feel like there's some indirect relationship there. I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, it seems like because of this article and the traction it got, and it entered into Telegram circles, they basically just screenshotted the graphs, and they didn't, link to the article or anything like this. But you can see the logo and stuff. So people went to the website. I can see that from the stats, from geolocations. People, went and read the article from Russia. So it definitely arrived there, and it seems like it sparked some debate. I guess this was already a part of the discussion there, because it's definitely doing a lot of harm on the Russian side. We recently also saw a Russian column being absolutely obliterated, partially by FPV drones as well. So, and this is not just something happening, on the Russian side. The Ukrainians are also very frustrated about Russian FPVs. So we got a question. From Kellen, and thank you, Kellen, faithful viewer. Is Ukraine improving their EW technology, especially since Russians has advantage in this category? I'm not sure if the Russians have an advantage on the EW technology that is in particularly focused on drones. I wish we had Andrew here, because he knows a lot more, because he's watching all the videos and he sees a lot more of interference with EW, etc. But Daniele, what's your impression?
Oh, well, I think so. I think the threat is so new that also the solution or in terms of electric warfare is very difficult to adapt. So electronic warfare, for the little that I know, is very point-wise defense. So you have these installation that ensure you a certain radius of effect. The problem is FPV drones are so mobile and so unpredictable and small. It's very easy to have this trend all along the entire front line. And so it's very difficult to cover with traditional methods everywhere. And plus, these type of drones start to have technique like a frequency hopping and other electronic warfare hardening methods that allows these to operate, or at least arrive very close to the objective and somehow hitting the target, even in the vicinity. So it's it's very hard for both sides to deploy an optimal solution. We have seen a lot of vehicle with EW having no effect on both sides, honestly. I mean, there is no information, official information about that, but we have seen on different Russian trucks, LOF, but also tanks being hit despite having technologies. So I think both are still trying to understand how to face the challenge. And I don't think, because this is a very new weapons system, despite it's very simple from the outside, I think both still they still on the learning curve. They are not like Russia is not having an advantage, because Russia have also to deter for the other threats, like long range precision strike munition, so I doubt about this advantage. Yeah, that's the Bradley one.
Yeah,
Which we didn't see. I didn't see any Bradley hit in a video with that things on the top, but anyway, who knows? But I'm sure that if there was, Russian would be posting these all day long for a week at least. So
yeah. So the thing is that EW systems, especially the more powerful ones, are very, very expensive. So, volunteers funding for, let's say, platoon getting EW systems, you're either going to end up with basically maybe one system, or that is quite capable, or you're going to end up with very low range EW systems because of the price. And I just assume that these EW systems that are mounted on the Bradleys are probably procured by the military, and they probably also have better sources for procuring them. I would also assume, without knowing, that for sure that these things are also in scarce supply, because this is in very high demand, and it's a relatively new field, and it's not like you can just pump them out indefinitely very fast. You need to ramp up production of these things as well, like any other military articles. It's tedious. Okay, so we got a few questions, and we got especially one for Colby.
Can I just finish one thing, because I think Jeff
Yeah, sure.
had. Yeah, I just want to finish to show another couple of graphs. I will be fast, but I just want to, because Jeff correctly say that he has some figure regarding the amount of drone. I mean, part of the drone that has been procured by one non-government aid to Ukraine, and just to give you, so this is the third and last point. So this is the attack on position, which include trails, houses, building in general. So as you can see, in January there was a very big gap, but then this gap is already at 74. I mean 74 and 59, and this is just the 3rd of February. So see how big the activity against static position is. And the reason is because hitting for both sides static position is very easy. It's a static position. However, for the Russian has become a kind of doctrine, because they tend to try to deny to the Ukrainians the possibility to defend by destroying whatever building, whatever position is there. In fact, many attack on trenches, sometimes, or on houses, are on position abandoned or not manned. But the Ukrainians are catching up very quickly as well. And just to give an overview, so this is what we saw. So since the beginning of this database, which was roughly August, let's say August, we have seen 4,456 FPV drone from Ukraine and 3,222 from Russia. So this is what of course end up behind our within our radar or Andrew's radar. So there is for sure stuff missing, but the most important thing to understand is that this is not to look at the exact figure on how many, but a trend to see who is using in a more in a more systematic way, and also how. And this, for example, show us that both tends to eat infantry. Russia tends to eat more positions, at least at the moment, and Ukrainians are trying to attire the vehicle capabilities of the Russians. And here you have tank, BMP, but also special vehicle, I mean SPH, so self-propelled artillery, but also anti-air system. So there include also as well cars, loaf, logistic vehicle. So at some point I will try to do like a separation to explain. So to reply to Jeff that he produced this number, and I think it's not bad. I mean, for sure there is more than 7,000, and that's all for the moment.
Thank you, Daniele.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the question about for Colby was or John, but he's gone. So yeah, what is the status of all the 20 plus RST SLS launchers? I guess maybe also Germany to Ukraine can answer this.
Yeah, that's definitely a question for Germany to Ukraine. I don't track the Germany that closely. I rely on his excellent work for that. So I would defer to him on that question.
All right, yeah. I mean, there was a chance that you can answer it. So there have been 2 delivered so far, and 22 more has been pledged. I don't know what the problem is with the delivery, because just speaking of a time, everything fine at your
Sorry.
point? Yeah, okay. Just considering the time, there should be more deliveries to Ukraine, but there aren't. Nothing is confirmed, but my guess would be that there is a lack of interceptors. Because when we are speaking about the SLM batteries, this was most likely also the case, and they use Iris TSL missiles, which is basically an enhanced version of the basic Iris T air-to-air missile. And the SLM batteries, for example, also had to stay on the site at Deal, who is the manufacturer of the whole system, for about 1 month, 1 whole month, because presumably there weren't enough interceptors, because it's not enough to just have the system. You also have to have spare parts and missiles to deliver along with it. And I guess my best guess would be that's also the case with the SLS launchers, because Deal said they can currently produce around 500 missiles per year. They didn't specify whether we are just talking about SL missiles or just Iris-T missiles in the basic version. But when it's just 500 a year, that's actually, I mean, they still improved, and it was much less before. But considering that all these aircrafts, I believe the Eurofighters, I hope I'm not mistaken, use Iris-T missiles, and now also the SLS launchers, it's not much. In theory, other countries like so basically every country which uses these missiles for their fighter jet could give the missiles to Deal, and Deal would have to make a software patch on these so they can be ground launched via the SLS launchers. But if it's actually the case that they don't have enough missiles, nobody's doing it. So yeah, that would be my explanation on that one.
Actually, I have a question, and thank you very much, Germinate, to Ukraine. I have a question for Colby. There's been a lot of talk about the Canadian pledge for an ASAM system to Ukraine, and I wondered if you've been looking more into that, because I think there's been a lot of misunderstandings about that pledge.
Yes, I am looking into this. I've promised a thread about NASAMS procurement. I still intend to write it. I just have a lot of other things competing for my attention. I don't know when I'll actually get around to doing it. Hopefully, I can work on it this week, and we'll see when I can get that written. But yeah, I will say that is something that is coming because there is lots of misinformation about it. But fundamentally, people just need to understand that these NASAMS systems need to be built. There is no warehouse filled with radars and launchers and fire distribution centers. It all has to get produced. That takes time. There's a very long production queue for these systems. There's already a very large number of systems that have been pledged by the United States and Norway for Ukraine. So it was really, in my view, actually quite a bad idea for the Canadian government to make this commitment, because it wasn't going to help Ukraine at all in the short to medium term. It was at least going to be a couple of years probably before this got produced and delivered to Ukraine, and that money would have been much better spent on something else that could make a more tangible difference for Ukraine in the short term. So big miss by the Canadian government.
I actually have a question for you as well, Colby. John covered a lot today, so we kind of missed it. I think John maybe wanted to touch a little bit on the Greece stuff. I covered it in a very basic level on my news report, just that like more or less the U.S. and Greece agreed to an arrangement where the U.S. is going to give them priority on help the Greek military overall, and they've agreed to take some of this excess old equipment they have and give it to Ukraine. But did you guys dig up any specifics on that, or did you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, so I've written a bunch of tweets about this topic. The short story is that now that this large sale has been approved for Greece of the F-35s, and there's some other stuff that's supposed to be going to Greece as well through excess defense articles, and there's also some other aircraft that they're interested in procuring in the future. That has prompted Greece to be willing now to provide to Ukraine all of their old legacy Soviet air defenses, which there are a considerable number of. There's two S300 PMU-1 batteries. There's, is it 50 TORs, 20 or 25 TORs? I have to find my thread that I wrote about this topic last year, or a year and a bit ago now. There's a bunch of OSAs as well. So quite a bit of Russian air defenses and Greek inventory that they've reportedly already withdrawn from service because it was getting difficult to maintain them, upkeep them, because it's hard. They can't source new spare parts from Russia, but certainly Ukraine could, because they're already operators of these systems, so they can receive them and cannibalize some of them if they need to, and probably get a lot of them into service. So we expect that sometime over the next several months, this equipment may make its way to Ukraine, and that'll be a much needed boost for their air defense capabilities.
Thanks, Colby. Back to you, Erlen.
Yeah, I think we're very close to the end of this this live stream, but I think we have a little preview. Do you want to do it, Joseph, or?
I don't know what you're talking about. So if you could do it, please.
Okay, I can do it. Sorry. Basically, Jonathan asked us to give a little preview of the fact that he is having a guest next Sunday at the same time. Right. And yeah, it's basically this the guy who made this film To the Zero Line, and that film is available at tothezeroline.com. And next Sunday we're going to have the filmmaker on.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So yeah, if people want to check that out, it'd be great. And yeah, we will have him on for an interview next week, or Jonathan will be interviewing him next week. So